Now, Alan likes his lawn, and it's looking a little bare in places, especially where we've had the digger. We're going to be putting grass seed down. So I'm just raking off the stones and getting it roughly level. Don't think you've got to get every last stone. It's just the big lumpy ones. Right, more or less level. Definitely better than it was. So we just got a multi-purpose grass seed. It's always good to measure it out. Don't just throw it from the box because you'll probably lay too much down and it won't grow evenly. So it's 30 grams a square metre, and then divide it in half. And first of all, we'll sow one way, then we'll sow the other way. And by rights, it should be nice and even with no patches.
With any luck, in just a few months, Alan's beloved lawn will start to see the benefits. But once it's established, it pays to follow some simple rules to keep your lawn in tip-top condition. And no one knows this better than Aid Ambler, winner of Britain's Best Lawn 2015.
To keep my lawn to this quality, I would probably spend at least 14 hours a week maintaining and looking after. It is a commitment.
Aid has been following the same golden rules for lawn care for over 20 years.
To keep your lawn lovely, my top 3 tips are mow it regularly, keep the edges nice and clean and sharp, and a feed at least 2 or 3 times a year.
And if you want to get really serious about your lawn care, Aid also recommends raking or scarifying it to remove moss or dead grass, which can smother the roots and prevent new growth. This is best done in spring and autumn. You can also aerate the soil. This can be done with a garden fork or more specialised tools.
This tool here is an aerator, and it's perforating the topsoil by about 2 or 3 inches. And it's helping to allow food, water and nutrients to below the surface.
No lawn of the year would be complete without these iconic stripes, which are created simply by using a mower with a rear roller to bend the grass and reflect the light. Grass blades bent towards you look dark, while those bent the opposite way look lighter.
There we have it, the iconic stripes.
This is the Salutation Garden on the Kent coast. It may look spectacular now, but just 3 years ago, this idyllic space was almost wiped out by a tidal surge down the English Channel.
We had about 12 hours notice, so very little time to protect anything other than the house. And only the next day could we count the cost.
When the tide retreated, the whole site was left with seawater damage in the garden, but it wasn't over yet.
The flood was followed by the wettest winter that we had recorded.
There was irreparable damage.
It uprooted trees, it relocated herbaceous plants, it pulled out probably hundreds of tons of soil. It's incredible that water is far more powerful than I think anyone ever gives it credit for.
Around 15,000 plants were destroyed.
It took months for it to properly sink in, the emotional loss from the plants. I think when you've faced a garden that's been devastated, it's important not to rush too quickly, actually, into making mistakes.
Steve and his team took stock of what had happened and tried to look at it positively.
There were lots of bits of the garden, actually, that we were living with because I could rely on those bits to perform every year. All of a sudden, we're faced with, not a blank canvas, but half of the planting missing from the main borders. It was an opportunity to reinvent and to build on old ideas.
But when they started to replant, the salt water had done more than just uproot the garden.
The entire ecology of the soil is upset, and that's the place to start. Lots of hours digging, incorporating lots of bulky organic material, manure. That was the key to begin with for us.
And after lots of hard work and perseverance, Steve and his team continued to rebuild the grounds, making it the charming garden it is today. In Gloria and Stan's garden, the retaining wall that collapsed 2 years ago has been rebuilt. So whilst Adam works on her new planters, the couple have asked Charlie to give them some advice on what to do with it.
My goodness, that's a wall and a half, isn't it? But this must be a fabulous sun trap.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does catch the sun.
Gloria and Stan's plot is on a giant slope, and on one side the new wall is more than 10 foot high.
This will be a nice warm wall.
Yeah.
And very, very protected. So things like Mediterranean plants, you know, like grapevines, kiwi fruit. I mean, it would also be a really great spot for a little propagator, like a little lean-to greenhouse.
Yeah, yeah.
And it would be a great place to sit.
Over in the vegetable garden, Charlie wants to add some structure to the new beds, so she's challenged the boys to show off their weaving skills.
What Charlie's done here is she's used hazel and she's used them in different forms. So she's got the lovely kind of horizontal weave here as the low kind of fencing. Also, what's so nice is using the same materials, but in a vertical way. So having these kind of teepees is really going to create a little focal point in this area. And it's a very natural material and, you know, gives this lovely, like, authentic feel to this space, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it's lovely.
Willow and hazel are versatile, natural materials that can make practical and beautiful objects in the garden. Someone that knows all about this ancient craft is professional weaver Eddie Grew.
My father was a basket maker, and when I was about 21 years old, he saw me not doing much and gave me the opportunity to work with him, which was the greatest thing that I ever did. And I learned to fall in love with the craft, and I'm still doing it to this day. I can make anything from willow, basically. I'm a yes man when it comes to willow. It's such a versatile material. You can do anything with it. It's so supple, and we're in the perfect country for it. You can grow it anywhere. Stick a rod in the ground. If it's green and fresh, it'll grow. You can make lots of things for the garden. So we've been making plant supports, the obelisks, the bird feeders, decorations for the garden, things like dragonflies and sunflowers that we've made. For me, if you're going to have fencing in your garden, some willow fencing, this is always going to look better because it's in keeping with the garden. It's made with a material that you could be growing. The material is extremely tactile and it's very rewarding. So you're making things that are coming to life in front of you. And at the end of the day, there's a sense of satisfaction because you've created something that will be useful to somebody else.
Eddie's had years of experience working with willow. This is the boys' first attempt, but they're not doing too badly.
And they're not the easiest to construct. This bit, the whole teepee idea is fine. Weaving this around is a little bit tricky, and you've got to be a bit careful. But it's good fun, you know, it's the idea that you're making something, you can do it as a family, you know, as brothers. So it's just quite fun, and a bit of an experiment as well.
Charlie's going to put sweet peas on this. It's functional, practical, but also looks great.